Jeremy Clarkson has told his own customers, in public, that his pub might be bankrupting him. Not a rival. Not a critic. Him. And yet the place is booked out, filmed for television, and reportedly cost him under £1 million to buy, a number that, weirdly, nobody has ever actually confirmed. So which is it? A gold mine with good PR, or a money pit with excellent lighting? Before it was anything else, it was a building called the Windmill. A pub, tucked into the village of Asthall near Burford, the kind of place you'd drive past without a second look. Then Jeremy Clarkson bought it. The number attached to the deal was under £1 million, that's as specific as anyone's managed to get. Every outlet that's touched the story lands on the same vague phrase, under £1 million, and nobody's produced an actual receipt. Fair enough, maybe. Not every transaction needs a paper trail for public consumption. But it does mean the title of this whole story, the £1 million pub, is really a rounding exercise dressed up as a fact. August 2024, the doors open under a new name, The Farmer's Dog. And almost immediately, the pub sets its own rules. British ingredients only. No imports, no exceptions, which sounds simple until you remember what that does to a menu, a wine list, a coffee order. It's a policy that limits the kitchen on purpose, which is either principled or a little bit mad, depending on your mood that day. The prices land next, and they land hard. Pints around £5.50, drifting up towards £6 in some tellings. Mains that swing from £15 up past £20. For a country pub in Oxfordshire, that's steep enough to get noticed, and it gets noticed. Complaints start showing up online almost immediately. One customer apparently pushed back over a £24 pie-and-veg plate, calling it a bit much, and got banned from the pub for saying so, publicly, on X. That's not a policy. That's just Clarkson being Clarkson. Still, it sets a tone. This isn't a pub that's going to apologize for what it charges. There's a detail that gets repeated in passing more than it gets explained, a chrome tractor, reportedly worth £20,000, hanging from the ceiling, apparently supplied by Richard Hammond. It's the kind of thing that either says everything about the pub's sense of humor or nothing at all, and it's never quite clear which. So the pub opens loud, prices high, rules strict, and the obvious question starts to form, can something built this way actually make money? That question doesn't get answered for a while. It just sits there, gathering weight. By the end of that first year, Clarkson is already talking about the numbers, and not in a good way. He said, more or less, that the only thing keeping the place from what he calls financial ruin is the fact that they pour their own beer, Hawkstone lager and cider, rather than buying it in. On Instagram he described the accounting logic of the place as a way of turning £100 into about £94, which is either dry British understatement or an actual accountant somewhere quietly wincing. In the Times he put it more bluntly, warm, friendly, a proper traditional pub, and one that'll cost him a fortune and a skin condition to run. That's not spin. That's the owner, on the record, saying the thing is losing him money. Which makes everything that happens next a bit stranger. Because the car park becomes the actual battleground. Through 2025, the Farmer's Dog is locked into a running dispute with West Oxfordshire District Council over parking on the site, not a small disagreement, either, but one that drags on for the better part of a year. One report from April 2025 describes an earlier overflow car park holding somewhere around 170 vehicles. By March of the following year, the figure being reported is 360, on a 6-acre field the pub is renting for the purpose. Whether that's a genuine expansion or just two different snapshots of a moving target, nobody's fully clarified, and honestly, it doesn't hugely matter which. What matters is the scale. This is not a pub with a gravel patch out back anymore. It's worth pausing on what actually keeps generating headlines here, because it's rarely the food. It's the friction. The banned customer. The car park war. Clarkson naming names, reportedly including Keir Starmer and James May, on a supposed ban from the pub list. None of that is running a restaurant. It's running a feud, in public, on a schedule. And it's hard not to wonder whether that's less a series of accidents and more the actual business model, a pub that loses money on pies but prints attention for free, episode after episode, especially with Clarkson's farm cameras already pointed at it for season 4. You could argue the arguing is the product. Meanwhile, the running costs keep surfacing in pieces, mostly through Clarkson himself. £27,000 a month, he said, just on parking and traffic marshals. £100 a day on generator fuel. £400 a week to keep the terrace heated. Numbers like that, stacked next to a man who's already told you he's barely breaking even, start to paint something closer to a structural problem than a bad quarter. And then, in March 2026, the council fight actually resolves. Clarkson wins retrospective planning permission for the overflow car park, allowed to keep running it through until the end of 2029. After a year of back and forth, that's a genuine win, on paper. The parking, at least, isn't going anywhere for a few more years. There's a piece of the building's own history that rarely gets mentioned, and it's a strange one to leave out. Before it was the Windmill, before any of this, the structure was a 15th century vaulted barn, apparently used as a soup kitchen during the Second World War. It didn't become a pub at all until 1983. So the traditional pub framing Clarkson leans on in his own quotes is, in a very literal sense, only about 40 years old. The building's been more things than it's been a pub. Which brings it back to the number nobody can pin down. What did it actually cost to buy, fit out, defend through a planning dispute, and keep heated and staffed and parked for 2 years running, set against a menu deliberately built to be harder and pricier than it needs to be? Clarkson's own words suggest the balance sheet is thin at best. The planning win suggests the site itself isn't going anywhere. Both of those things are true at once, and they don't resolve into a tidy verdict. So here's the actual question, the one that doesn't have a clean answer yet: is the Farmer's Dog a pub that happens to generate a television show, or a television show that happens to serve food? Because depending which one it is, losing money means something completely different. That's where it sits for now, car park sorted till 2029, ledger reportedly still bleeding, and a soup kitchen turned Windmill turned Farmer's Dog that nobody, including its owner, seems fully able to call a success or a failure. Make of that what you will. I'm just the one who read all the receipts he wouldn't show you.